All right, we're talking about variation today. We've got direct versus inverse. I like to just remember direct means things vary directly. Basically, as one variable goes up, the other goes up. As one goes down, the other goes down. We represent that with this equation, general equation, y equals kx. And you think about that graphically, that would just make a line, right? K is our slope in this case, but down here below, we call that the constant of variation. It's just some number, okay? Inverse variation, on the other hand, the variables vary inversely. So as one goes up, as one gets bigger, the other has to go the opposite direction. It goes down, and vice versa. So one goes down, the other goes up. Equation-wise, that would look like this. Y equals k over x. Now I've got a couple tables here. If you had to tell just by looking at a table what's it doing, well, the easiest way, if we're dealing with variation, look in this first table on the left. As our x's get bigger, look, 3, 8, 10, those are getting bigger. What are our y values doing? 15, 40, 50. Oh, they're getting bigger as well. Hey, they're doing the same thing. Inverse, on the other hand, look at our x's, they get bigger. Our y values get smaller. Hey, that's an inverse relationship, okay? So that's really what I'd want you to be able to identify here. Now let's talk about combined variations. This just means more than two variables are related. So a lot of times you think about areas of triangles, different relationships with circles and some things. Volume. We have multiple variables that are related, okay? Joint variation just means two or more are directly related. Here's some examples of just the language we use. So a joint, y equals kxz. Each of these, by the way, notice it has a k, it's black. That's just a number, okay? So we don't say that in the variation. We just state the variables. So y equals kxz. I typed it over on the right. The way we would read that, y varies jointly with x and z. That means they're both direct. How about this one? Y varies jointly with x and z. Notice they're on top multiplied together. And inversely with w. So we've got multiple variables in there we're relating. How about this one? Y varies directly with x, so it's on top. Excuse me. Inversely with w and z. Oh, so they're on the bottom. There's all kinds of combinations they could throw at us. You just have to think your way through it. Write the proper equation. Let's look at a couple examples here, actually solving equations, setting some equations up. Suppose y varies inversely with x. Okay, right there, inversely with x, that means we're dealing with that equation. Okay, so I would write it, just remind myself. Use this information to find k, write the equation that describes it. Well, they tell us x is 10 when y is 1500. So let's plug in what we know. Well, 1500 equals k over 10. And now I want to solve for k. So we're going to multiply 10 by both sides. Hey, k equals 15,000, right? I got 3 zeros there. And now let's just write the equation. So y equals 15,000 over x. That would be the general equation. Now, once I know that, any x's they give me, I could plug in, I could figure out what y is. How about this one, a little more involved? Z varies directly with x and inversely with y squared. Let's set that up. So that means z equals kx. Notice they don't mention k, but yeah, there's always a constant in there. Inversely, so y squared is going to be on the bottom. So there's my general equation. When x equals 2, y is 5, z is 8. So let's plug all those things in. We're going to figure out what k is. So 8 equals k times 2 divided by 5. Okay, so I just plugged in, 5 squared, sorry. So I just plugged in for all my variables there. Let's rearrange, let's get k by itself. So I'm going to multiply, now 5 squared is 25. So if I multiply this whole thing by 25 over 2, 25 over 2, that would make that go away, that go away. 8 over 2 is 4. And so it looks like k equals 100 to me. Okay, and again, you can always go plug in calculator if you need to, but this simplified pretty nicely for us. What is the value of z when x is, okay, so they don't want the equation, they actually want us to find a specific z. So let's plug things in. 100 is my k that I just found, times x over y squared. So that's going to be 400 over 81, and honestly I'd probably just leave it like that. I don't know that that's going to reduce any farther. You could do a decimal, I suppose, but I just leave it as a fraction probably. Okay, so again, there's lots of different situations they can throw at us. Set up the equation, identify direct or inverse, and then plug things in, solve for your constant, and you're off and running.